This is the Ease ESC. It is an open source dual channel brushed ESC I've designed to be as easy to build as possible. Before we get into the build process, I want to talk about the features and why I designed this thing. I designed it to beat this. This is a dual channel brushed ESC that can be bought from a handful of sellers on AliExpress, and it was fairly cheap. It has been climbing in price steadily year on year. It's also kind of bulky for what it is, both size-wise and weight-wise, meaning that it's not the ideal choice for building an ant-weight combat robot, or any real build that needs to drive motors and cares about weight. So my goal here was cheaper and lighter than that ESC. Let's take a look. To get the weight and cost down, I have changed the specs up just a little bit, but to keep them usable. These ESCs off of AliExpress are spec'd for 5 amps per channel and 1.5 amps on the BEC that feeds your receiver. Having looked into the components for these, they've actually lied about this a little bit. The output should be able to do 5 amps, no worries, but the voltage regulator on here, the thing that is supplying power to your receiver, can only give out 0.5 amps, which means that if you plug this into a receiver and then also plug in a servo, taking the power for the servo from this ESC browns out a lot. This is an issue that I've had in the past with some events that I ran using these as the primary ESC for that entire event. So for the Ease ESC, I have put on a 5-volt regulator that will output 1 amp, so you can actually power a servo off of your receiver based on the voltage coming out of this board. I've also dropped the output amperage from 5 amps down to 1.5 amps. This reduction in amperage doesn't really matter that much though. Things like an N20, which run most small-scale combat robots, bigger motors like these, which I think this is an N30, and then all the way up to the type of motors that you would find in most like cheap RC cars and things, really aren't going to draw much more than about 1.2 amps. In fact, an N20 at stall on 9 volts or 2S LiPo voltage draws about 0.7 amps, which means that the Ease ESC can actually drive 2 of these at the same time off the same channel and still be totally okay. This 5 amps from this ESC is way overkill for any of the type of things that you would ever really want to put it in. So having said that, how does this board actually stack up for weight and cost versus the AliExpress special? Well, on weight, we are very much under. The AliExpress special is around about 12 grams, where the Ease ESC is around about 9. That is a 3 gram savings. That is fairly decent for this size of robot that we're talking about. And cost we also get. When I started this project, these boards were about $8 Australian, but as mentioned, they had been creeping up. And as of recording this video, the listing that I had for these that I bought them for around about $8 has been taken down, and they are back up now for $10 a piece. These boards can get down to around about $7 a piece if you make a large batch. So let's get on to why these are easy to make and how you actually make them, starting with the secret that I've been hiding this whole time, the board on the back. This is the RP2040, and it is one of the easiest to program microcontrollers that exist. You won't need any special programming board, you won't need any special program installed on your computer. You literally plug it in with a USB-C cable and transfer a file over it exactly the same as you would transfer a file over to a USB drive. That's it. It's super, super easy to program, which makes it ideal. It's also lighter and smaller than a full RP2040. The price on the RP2040 does vary a little bit, but it's usually somewhere between $2.50 and $4 Australian, depending on when you get them, where you get them, and how many you're getting at a time. But of course, you don't just need a microcontroller to get this ESC to work, you need a PCB full of components. And that's where this video sponsor, PCBWay, comes in. I've uploaded files to their project sharing site for single PCBs if you want to go the cheap but also most DIY route. And I've also uploaded files for a panelized version, which can be SMD soldered by PCBWay. To order these SMD PCBs, first you need to work out how many of them you want. I have put this project up in 2 different panelized forms. The first has 2 boards per panel, and the second has 6 boards per panel. If you want quite a lot of these, like 30 plus, then the 6 boards per panel is the way to go. If you want just a handful of these, kind of minimum of 10 and going up to about 30, then you want the 2 board panel. Through PCBWay, it's really easy to order these now that I have made them a project. You simply click the PCB plus assembly button over here and hit add to cart. That will open up a new tab, which is a PCBWay quote. The next thing you want to do is make sure that your order quantities are correct. In the top where the PCBs are coming in, change the order quantity here to however many panelized boards you want. Remember that this number will be times by either 2 or 6 depending on which panelized board you put in. In this case, I have the 2 panel board and I don't want that many. I'm going to do the 5 option. And then down here in the assembly service, we just need to tell it how many boards we've got, which is again the number of PCBs times by how many boards are actually in that panel. And in this case, that is 10. Once we do that, we hit calculate and it should come up with a number for us up here. And then we hit save to cart. Once we do that, we hit agree and it will go into our orders page. And that's it. If you do want to go the SMD route, I'll assume that you have SMD soldered before. So I'm going to skip over the kind of basics of how you SMD solder. And I will say that in the project files, there are a bill of materials for this specific board. I have done my utmost to make sure that all of the locations for all of the parts on this board are readable, and all the components are fairly easy to source outside of the motor controller. That's an MX1508. It is a motor controller I really like, but if you get them from AliExpress, you have to be fairly careful. Some sellers will sell you an MX1508 RX, which is an entirely different chip with a different pinout. You solder it onto this board and it is going to short out and blow itself up. In the bill of materials, there is a link to where I send PCBWay to get these particular chips. The chips that I have here, I have got from AliExpress because if you buy a big lot, you'll get some of them are MX1508s and some of them are MX1508 RXs. I have not personally tried to order directly from the place that I've told PCBWay to order from, but PCBWay have had no trouble ordering from them multiple times for me, so I trust the seller to deliver actual MX1508s. With the panelized boards, you will have to do a little bit of soldering still, but it is not going to be anywhere near as fiddly. You will need to snap these out of the panels, which is not very easy to do by hand and is much, much easier to do with a couple of pairs of pliers. At the end of the snapping process, you may have edges that are a bit jaggedy. Some of these are a lot worse than others, but all of them have kind of very fine little sharp edges here. The easiest way to deal with this is with a file. I will say if you're going to file down these pieces, make sure you do it in a well-ventilated space and masked up. PCBs have fiberglass in them, and you are generating fiberglass dust, which is not something you want to breathe in. Either way you went, you now have your RP2040 and your board all soldered up and SMD'd. And the RP2040 just gets attached to the back of the board, and we're going to do that with the pins that come with the RP2040 itself. The easiest way to get all of this stuff to line up is to just drop the pins into the board. There is a little USB icon to show you which way the board goes in. Make sure the board lines up with that USB image on the board and just slot the board over top of the pins like this. It's going to be a little bit wobbly. To fix the wobble issue, we need to solder everything solidly in place, and the easiest way to do that is with helping hands. Hold the bottom board with the RP2040 above, and gravity will hold things in place for the most part. Then with a hot soldering iron, I just go around and I hit the 4 corner pins. These are going to wobble a little bit as you do this. Try to be as careful as you possibly can to stop the thing from tilting or kind of getting off course here. But as long as you get the 4 corners done, that will lock the pins. If you're having trouble with soldering the underside pins once you've got the 4 pins connected, you can use one of your helping hands as a supporting brace here. I've got this pushed down into the RP2040 and I've got the other one holding the circuit board. Then I can flip them and everything stays lined up exactly as it needs to for me to then go through and again hit the 4 corners. Once you've got the 4 corners, all of the pins will be locked in place and you won't need to worry so much about how you're holding everything or how everything's moving, because it should not move once you've got all 4 corners. Once those are in, I'm going to flip back to the other side, remove this helping hand, and then just go through and solder every single pad that's got a pin through it. With our soldering done, you will see that we have a lot of extra pin sticking out on the back side of this board, or the top side of this board, depending on which way around you look at this thing. Either way, you have just a whole extra bit of pin sticking up here. We need to go through and cut all of this down. This is easiest done with kind of side cutters. Be very careful though, these things may go flying around the room when you cut them. It's probably best to do this with a pair of safety glasses on. With those trimmed off, it is time to solder the rest of the connections on the board, but this is kind of up to you a little bit. I've marked out what every single one of the holes is for, and the connections that you want to put in here are probably going to be up to your style of bot building and how you lay out your wiring. S2 and S1 are the signal inputs. So these 2 things here need to go to the signal of your receiver. Personally, I do this with jumper wires and with servo extenders cut in half. And this board is designed for this in mind. Signal 2 can be done with a single jumper wire soldered onto that port. And then signal 1 takes the white wire out of this half-cut servo extender. And then of course you can see that the very next thing here is 5 volts. That is 5 volts out from the onboard regulator. This is to power your receiver and also a servo if you happen to plug that into your receiver. And you'll see that that fits nicely with the red wire down the middle of our servo extender. That is the 5 volt line here. And then the very next thing is ground, which is the black line of our servo extender. So we can literally go jumper wire, white from the servo extender, red from the servo extender, black from the servo extender. And then we've got 2 final ports here, which are the ground and VBAT ports. So these 2 ports are for connecting to power. The VBAT is the power in. This is the 9 volt or 2S LiPo voltage in. And the ground is of course the ground for the battery. Then of course at the bottom we've got motor 1 and motor 2. These are separated with a line so you can tell which one is which. Literally all you need to do is connect to the 2 ports in a pair for motor 1 and the 2 ports in the pair for motor 2. It is that easy. And there we go. That's mostly wired up. I mean, obviously I need to connect motors to the end here and I need to connect a battery to that end, but that is the ESC together. So let's get on to the firmware. Before we do though, I will say that at the moment, the firmware is kind of in a beta stage. I haven't actually tested it in fights yet. I've tested it a bunch in my test box, but that is different to testing it in fights, fairly obviously. It is also unmixed firmware right now. So you need to do the mixing in your transmitter because this does not have mixing included. I have an idea on how to include mixing in a way that makes it easy-ish to set up. But I need to work on that a little bit more. If you are very, very keen for mixing on this ESC, please let me know in the comments down below and I will try and get that through a little bit faster than I otherwise would. You'll need to go to the GitHub link that I provided in the links below, and in the compiled firmware folder, there is a piece of compiled firmware. It is this .uf2 file. We just need to download this, which you can do by clicking into it like this and then pressing this download raw file button. that will then pop up a little thing telling you that it has downloaded. With the firmware downloaded, you plug the ESC into your laptop or computer via a USB cable. It will then pop up as a USB device, and you can see that here it's just opened up as a new file structure. And all we need to do then is take the firmware we downloaded just before and click and drag it across into the file structure. When you do that, you can see that that window then closes immediately because the RP2040 has accepted the new program and has dropped the bootloader mode. It now has that code in it. And there you go, the Ease ESC done and dusted. Hopefully you think these things live up to their name. These are, I think, about as easy as I could possibly get them to be from a building hardware and software standpoint for you at home. If you do end up making some or a bunch of these, please let me know either in the comments down below or tag me on Instagram or wherever you have your social media. Also, if you want to keep up to date with these, subscribe. Like I said, I've got plans to update the firmware with some mixing. I also have a stick calibration idea I want to try out. And whatever I do with these going forwards, there will be a video about on this channel. So if you subscribe, you should see those videos as they come out. And if you've built some of these, you'll know to update the firmware in your robot. One final thing to talk about here, once everything is programmed and together and tested and you're happy with it, you need to get rid of these two buttons down here. Either cut them off or add glue to them so that they cannot activate. This one is the boost button. It forces the RP2040 to reset into boot mode. This is the mode where it acts as a USB stick. And if it's booting into boot mode, it is not running our firmware, which means that the ESC does not run. The other one is arguably worse. This is the reset button. If at any point this gets touched, the entire ESC will reset. Just get rid of them in some way, because if these are jostling around inside a combat robot and smack into something or bump into your battery or whatever, you can have them either fully reset your ESC, or if the pack of electronics is quite tight inside your robot, it could be that the ESC just never starts up. Instead, it starts into bootloader mode. And that is going to be it for this video. I hope you have enjoyed that one, and I will see you in the next video.